Well, here we are, pillar number 5 of our pillars for driving business growth. And this is the most exciting one for me. As many of you know, I started out in the human resources personnel function, and because of my involvement with people. And there isn't anything that we don't do during the course of a day in our businesses that doesn't involve interaction or some activity with people, our employees, our team members, our customers, our accountant, our attorney. It's just so integral to a business. There's a rule out there that someone once taught me that the quality of your business, the success of your business, hinges upon the quality of your people. So we want to spend some time in this next pillar going over the importance of that, because without the right people, with the right skills and the right attitude in the right place at the right time, your business will falter. And who brings those people into their organization? You do. I once had a client say to me, "Chris, everybody in my employees, they're all stupid." And I looked at him, I said, "John, who hired them? Did they show up on your doorstep on a dark, rainy, windy night? You hired them." And we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the second segment of this pillar, when we talk about selection and training and utilization. But what I want to talk about today is this visual, initially. And I always put this up when I'm giving a workshop or a seminar or giving a keynote, and it has to deal with employees and teams and companies. And I always ask the audience, so tell me, if you look at this visual, you've got owner, you've got team, and you've got customer listed here. And I ask the audience to tell me, of those three, which one is the most important? And as you can imagine, the majority of people shout out, the customer is king. And I look at them and I say, no, you're wrong. Now, once I did this at a restaurant association trade group, and one of the restaurant owners, I think, was going to approach the stage to convince me that it was the customer. And I, of course, pointed out that I wasn't being paid enough to be beat up. So he said customer, they all said customer. And I say very gleefully, no, you're wrong. Now, between owner and team, who's more important? Now they know there's a trick in here somewhere. And very few people respond. So I offer the opinion that the owner is most important between owner, team, and customer. And why is that? You as the owner, you open up your checkbook. You start a business. You take on all the risk. You provide the opportunity to provide jobs for individuals in your business. So really the owner is the most important in this little triangle. Now the second most important group, of course, is your team, not the customer. And why is that? Because you empower your team to engage with your customer, to interact with your customer. And how many times have you seen examples of poor customer service on the part of an employee of an organization a restaurant you eat in, someplace where you maybe buy your auto supplies, whatever the case may be. And that individual, that employee who doesn't own the business, impacts you so much that you know you're not going back. So your team is critically important. And you have control, assuming the individual has the proper attitude, you have the control to train them to perform in a certain way to develop relationships with your customers. Because if your team interacts poorly with your customer, guess what your customer does? Your customer goes elsewhere. They find somebody else in your space, in your neighborhood, who provides the same product or service. You want to build loyalty among your customers. You want to build the experience with them that when you do have a bad day, and I use restaurants as a good example, how many times you've gone to one of your favorite restaurants and on that particular night they just didn't have it. But you say to your spouse or significant other, you know what? They're normally really very good. They had a bad night. They're human. We'll go back the next time. So don't underestimate your customer's loyalty to you. But if you can't perform consistently again at the higher level the next time, there may not be another next time. Your people are critical to your organization because they were people first before they became your team members. And we make important decisions regarding people that affect our businesses on a short-term as well as a very long-term basis. Your people, your team members, you're giving them the authority and the power to spend your money through their performance. They may not be physically grabbing your cash, but they're determining how much cash you make and retain. So it's critically important when you make people decisions as to who you bring into your organization, how you train them, how you develop them, how you reward them, how you retain them. Those are all critical people decisions, some of which have very significant impacts on your investments. I like to think about building your team as building an investment portfolio. You're in it for the long term. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be good folks, there'll be not so good folks, but you always want to be able to have a long-term perspective as you would in selecting investments. Apply that same due diligence to how you select individuals to come into your organization. And make no mistake, they're coming into your organization. Doesn't matter what your intentions may be, if they don't share your values, if they don't share your vision, they're going to do things that they think are right, which may not necessarily be the right things you want done. So when it comes to bringing people into your organization, I don't want to overstate it, but in the same sense, I want you to understand it's a very serious function. So now there's two other points on people here. Number one, learn to hire slow but fire fast. You may have heard that before. Ask all the questions you want, the questions you need to have answered. And we're going to talk more about selection in the next segment here, the next video. But I want you to think about this and remember this always. Hire slow, fire fast. The second and equally important concept I want to leave you with here today is don't be cheap when hiring your employees. Don't be cheap. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish when building your team. Let me explain what I mean by that. Some business owners, some clients have told me that they're always looking to hire the best possible people at the cheapest price. In concept, I understand that. I'm not trying to provide you an opportunity to waste or spend money wildly or crazy. What I want you to do is to always look to hire the best possible person. Their salary will be dictated by the marketplace and the contribution they make to your organization in terms of growth of revenue. You want to be hiring franchise players when you can, people who will define the future success of your company and contribute to it, add value to your company and to your customers, as opposed to bringing in farm team players who may never develop the skills and who can only cause damage to your relationships with your customers. So hire slow, fire fast, invest in and hiring the right people, those who can help you build a championship franchise. So at the end here, what I want you to do is I want you to take a hard look at your customer relationships, the experience you want your customers to have, and ask yourself, are all of your team members performing in such a way to deliver that experience? Can they perform consistently their duties and responsibilities to deliver that ideal customer experience? If they're not, take those functions one at a time and begin to identify, is there a learning or training or development opportunity for that individual? And if there is, let's define it and talk with that person, give them some feedback, and going forward, create a plan for them to produce the type of results you want. In the next segment, we're going to dig deeper into selection, development, utilization, measurement and rewards, and retention of your team members.